Good morning, friend. Imagine the first light of the day sliding across your kitchen table, the kettle beginning its soft hum, a pair of walking shoes waiting by the door like friendly dogs who already know the route. I'm glad you're here. At EverWell USA, our promise is steady and simple, better health and deeper dignity in the years that matter most. We keep that promise with calm stories you can feel and small actions you can try today. If this kind of company helps you breathe a little easier, please like, subscribe, and share so a neighbor can find their way here too. You are not alone. We are with you, one quiet breath at a time. And this morning we'll turn that breath into a guide your heart can trust. What if I told you that the safest way to walk after 65 isn't about a number on your watch at all, but about the sound of your own voice? What if your breath, not a step count, should set your pace and finishing a simple sentence while you move could protect your heart better than chasing 10,000? It sounds almost backward in a world that loves tallies and trophies, but it is the relief of today's message. Your body already carries the perfect speedometer, and you can hear it when you talk. Before we lace up, one gentle promise to keep you safe. This video is educational. We don't diagnose or prescribe. Your decisions about medicines and limits belong with your clinician who knows your story. Here, we practice a simple skill so your walks feel safer, your confidence grows, and your heart gets the kindness of the right effort at the right time. Picture an ordinary scene that could be yours. The mailbox flag is down, the street is quiet, and the air has the kind of chill that wakes your cheeks without biting. You sit on the porch bench and tie your laces, not in a hurry, just careful enough that the bow won't loosen halfway down the block. You stand, test your balance with a light hand on the railing, and take the first steps the way you take, the first sips of tea, easy, warm, patient. Beside you, imagine a friend or a grandchild, or simply the memory of someone you love. You begin to talk about something small, the tomatoes you planted, the neighbor's new puppy, the way the maple tree always seems first to color in the fall. You notice that you can say a complete thought without breaking it into gasps. That is the talk test working in real time. If you can speak a full sentence comfortably, you're in a good, heart-healthy zone. If you can sing a line from an old song without effort, you might be easing along and could gently pick up the pace. If your words shatter into single syllables, if you can only push out a few at a time, the body is asking you to slow down. The talk test is simple on purpose. It lives in your breath and your voice, where you can always reach it. You may recognize yourself in the next moment. Maybe you once tried to keep up with a step goal and came home more dizzy than proud. Maybe a well-meaning friend set a pace that felt like a race and you smiled through it because you didn't want to be the one who asked to slow down. It's human to push when a number tells you to. Today, we choose a different kind of courage, the kind that listens inward and answers kindly. Your heart is not a clock to be beaten. It is a companion to be kept safe. The talk test gives you a language for that safety, a way to hear too hard, too easy, and just right without a single gadget. Let the image shift from the porch to the first block. The sidewalk tilts a little by the mailbox, then straightens near the hedge. You notice how your breath deepens and settles into a rhythm that feels like walking next to a quiet stream. You try a simple sentence, "I'm going to water the basil when we get back." The words flow. A minute later, you try again with a longer line. "The air smells like rain and the clouds look friendly." If the sentence arrives whole, you keep your pace. If the ends fall away and you find yourself chopping words into pieces, you loosen your shoulders and dial the speed down a notch until your voice returns. That small adjustment is the difference between training and straining. Straining steals tomorrow. Training gives it back. A neighbor waves from across the street, and you hear the old habit, whisper, "Do more, go faster, prove something." You answer that habit with a smile and a sentence spoken out loud, because the sentence is a promise. I choose a pace where I can speak in full thoughts. It isn't an excuse to coast. It's a commitment to the middle where the heart grows stronger without fear. If you carry conditions like arthritis or a history of falls, the talk test becomes even more of a friend, because speed can wobble when pain flickers, but your voice will always tell you when to ease and when to continue. Bring it back home now. The doormat waits, the kettle is ready to hum again, and your shoes leave the neat kind of dirt that proves a life is lived, not just clean. You untie the laces and listen to your breath return to its quiet, resting self. There is no trophy on the table, but there is something better. A feeling under your ribs that says, I did the right amount and I could do it again tomorrow. That is the heart of this practice. We're not building one grand effort. We're building a gentle rhythm your body can trust. Before this first part closes, let's tuck one small action into your day so the idea becomes a habit. Choose a 10 to 15 minute window you can actually keep right after breakfast if mornings are friendly, or just after your favorite afternoon show if that's the hour when energy returns. Put on shoes that hold your heel and let your toes wiggle. Step out the door or walk an indoor loop if weather is unkind. While you move, speak a full, ordinary sentence every minute or so. If the sentence breaks into pieces, ease your pace until your voice comes back whole. When you return, pour a small glass of water, notice the steady feeling under your ribs, and say this line to yourself as a quiet pledge for tomorrow. I walk at a speed my voice can carry. The afternoon opens like a friendly door. You lace your shoes again, not to chase a number, but to meet your breath where it lives. The sidewalk outside is warm from the sun, the kind that makes shadows soft and corners kind. A neighbor waves from the porch and asks how far you're going. You smile and answer in a whole sentence. And even that answer becomes part of the plan. Your voice is your coach today. It sets the pace and keeps you honest without scolding. You start at the edge of your driveway and let the first minute belong to waking up the body. Ankles circle a little, shoulders loosen, jaw unclenches. You listen for the quiet rhythm under your ribs and allow it to rise one step at a time. When you reach the first mailbox, you test your speed with a simple line you know by heart. Maybe it is the name of your street and the month you're in. Maybe it is what you plan to cook for dinner. If you can say the sentence without chopping it into pieces, you stay right where you are. If you hear the ends break off, you take 2 smaller steps and let the breath catch up. It is not a retreat. It is training. Training means you can come back tomorrow. A small hill appears where the road lifts toward the oak tree, the spot that always pulls a little more air from your chest. You feel the first urge to prove something, to lean forward and attack the climb. Instead, you listen for your voice. You try your sentence again. The words come out in 2 puffs, and that is your cue. You ease your pace by a whisper and straighten your shoulders so the lungs can open like curtains. Your sentence returns in one smooth line before the top of the rise. This is the talk test, doing its quiet work. Not pushing you to the edge, not letting you drift to sleep, guiding you to the middle where heart and lungs grow stronger without fear. At the corner, a friend joins you for half a block. You tell a small story about the garden and pay attention to the sound of the story as much as the content. If you start to break words into gasps, you slow until you can finish a thought without a fight. Your friend laughs and says, "You sound like a radio host, steady, clear, easy to follow." That is the point. The pace that lets you speak in full thoughts is the pace that lets your blood move with purpose and your pressure settle into a safer rhythm. You are not on a stage. You are in a conversation with your own body, and it hears you when you are kind. The sidewalk turns to a shaded path. Dry leaves flick under your shoes like quiet applause. You practice the same test again because the middle of a walk is different from the start. A minute ago, everything felt simple. Now the breath is deeper and the legs are warmer. You speak your sentence. It lands clean. You decide to hold this speed for 3 more blocks because holding is its own kind of strength. When you catch a patch of uneven concrete, you shorten your steps and keep your voice smooth. Safety is part of the plan. The talk test is not a dare. It is a promise to care for yourself while you move. You pass the little park and think of the days when exercise felt like a checklist someone else wrote. Today, the list is inside your chest. It goes like this. Walk tall enough for the lungs to open, light enough for the joints to thank you later, steady enough for a sentence to travel across your mouth without breaking. None of this requires a watch. None of it demands a track. You can walk a hallway or circle your living room on rainy days and still listen for the same sign. Can I say one whole thought without stopping? If yes, you are right where your heart gets stronger. On the last stretch home, you allow yourself a small experiment. You pick up the pace for 30 seconds until your sentence phrase, then you back off just enough to speak it smoothly again. You feel how little it takes to move from too hard to just right, and you tuck that feeling away like a key in your pocket. This is how you will adjust on days when the wind is stubborn or the air is thick. You won't wait for discomfort to shout. You'll let your own voice whisper the correction before strain arrives. The driveway returns sooner than you expected. You stop at the step, place one hand on the rail, and let your breath settle on its own instead of chasing it down. The chest loosens, The mind brightens in that clean way effort sometimes brings. You open the door and the house meets you with a familiar coolness. The sound of a clock in the kitchen, the steady comfort of home. You pour a glass of water and drink half, not because a rule said so, but because the body asked politely. End this part with one small action you can finish before the hour changes. Choose a route you can repeat 3 blocks to the mailbox and back, 2 laps around the courtyard, the hallway loop that takes 5 minutes each pass. Write the route on a sticky note and place it near your shoes. Pick a simple sentence you'll use as your check, your address, the month and day, the plan for lunch, and say it out loud every minute while you walk. If the sentence breaks, ease your pace until it returns whole. If it flows too easily and your body feels eager, you can gently nudge the speed up and test again. When you get home, write one quick line on a scrap or in a notebook, how long you walked, whether your sentence stayed smooth, and how your body felt 10 minutes later. That little line will show you the pattern you're building, steady, repeatable, kind, and tomorrow you'll step back into it like a song you already know. Evening clouds gather like soft wool and the air smells a little like rain. You look through the window and smile because weather used to cancel your walk. Tonight it becomes the reason you learn a new way. You turn on one lamp in the living room, straighten the rug, and make a loop from hallway to kitchen to couch and back again, a quiet track that belongs to you. The television stays off so the room can hear your voice, and your voice can hear your breath. A grandchild calls to ask about homework and you promise to ring back in 15 minutes because right now you are meeting your heart where it lives. The talk test travels indoors as easily as a favorite tune. You start the way a singer clears the throat before a song, not with force, but with intention. The first lap is slow enough to wake the ankles and let the chest find its rhythm. You say a simple line out loud and listen to how it lands in the room. I'm walking my inside loop and it feels steady. The sentence arrives in one piece and you keep your pace. When you pass the kitchen table, you try again with a different line. I will call Lily back when I'm done. Your words float without breaking and you feel the small satisfaction of a key turning smoothly in a lock. On the third lap, you notice the point where you always speed up between the hallway pictures and the couch because the space is wide and your feet want to run. Old habits whisper, prove it, as if speed alone were strength. You answer with the voice you have practiced all week. You speak your sentence and let it set the pace. If the ends of the sentence fray, you shorten your steps until the last word comes out whole. It feels a little like holding a kite in gentle wind. You loosen your grip just enough for the string to stop tugging, and then the kite flies cleaner than before. A small wobble in the ankle reminds you that balance is part of this kindness. You pause at the back of the sturdy chair, touch it lightly, and stand tall. The shoulders lift and relax. The breath widens. You take 10 quiet seconds to let the nervousness drain out of your knees. Then you begin the loop again. This isn't quitting, it is wisdom. Bodies that have carried many years know when to surge and when to settle, and listening makes the next lap better, not worse. If you use a cane or a walker, you treat it like a trusted friend rather than a sign to hide. Friends make good walks safer. You think about all the times exercise felt like a test written by someone who didn't know your life. This feels different because your voice writes the test as you go. You can walk through the living room on days when joints argue. You can walk a grocery aisle holding a small basket for balance. You can walk a quiet church hallway between pews while you wait for a meeting to begin. The tool travels with you because it is inside you. If you can say a full, ordinary sentence without chopping it into gasps, you are training your heart. If the sentence breaks apart, you soften the pace until your voice finds its shape again. The rule is simple, and it forgives you every time you need to adjust. Halfway through the 15 minutes, you take a sip of water from the counter and stand by the sink long enough to notice how your breath recovers. It returns the way a tide returns, steady, certain, not because you forced it, but because you stopped asking for more than it had to give. You touch the fridge where the grandchild's drawing hangs, and remember that strong does not mean stubborn. Strong means repeatable. It means being able to do this again tomorrow without paying for it with a night of aching. A memory arrives of the time you pushed through a walk to meet a step goal and came home too short of breath to finish a sentence. You forgive that version of yourself and thank them for trying. Then you thank the version standing here for choosing a kinder way. You begin the loop again and speak a line that is part promise, part picture. I am moving at a speed my voice can carry. The sentence feels like a handrail. It keeps you upright through the turns where the rug meets the wood. It reminds you that safety isn't separate from training. It is the root of it. Near the end, The house grows even quieter, as if it is listening with you. You pick one last stretch to play with pace, lifting it just enough that the breath deepens and then easing back the second your words begin to scatter. You notice how quickly your voice tells the truth. You notice how gentle the correction can be. You notice that your face has relaxed and your shoulders no longer try to prove anything to anyone. The loop ends where it began, by the lamp that warms the edge of the couch. You stand still, one hand on the chair back, and let the breath settle until it feels like home again. You drink the rest of the water, call your grandchild back, and smile when they ask how the indoor track went. You tell them the truth. It felt easier than I expected because I listened instead of pushed. You say it out loud so your own ears can hear it. Listening is what turns minutes into health. Carry one small action out of this room before the evening moves on. Choose your rainy day route and name it the living room loop, the hallway circle, the kitchen figure eight. Put a scrap of paper near the lamp with the single sentence you will use as your check. Each time you walk the loop this week, speak that sentence every minute. If it stays whole, you are right where your heart grows stronger. If it breaks, soften until it returns. Write a single line afterward about how you felt 10 minutes later. Those lines will become a quiet diary of strength you can repeat, and repetition is the road your heart loves best. Morning arrives, washed clean, the kind of clear light that makes even the sidewalk look friendly. You step outside and the air greets your cheeks the way a good towel greets wet hands, warm, certain, ready to help. A canvas tote hangs from your shoulder because the weekend market has peaches today, and you decide to make the walk part of the errand. At the corner, you meet a neighbor and fall into step, not to impress them, just to enjoy the company. You talk about tomatoes and the polite dog that seems to know every mailbox, and you notice how easily a full sentence slides out as you move. That's your cue. The pace is right, your heart is working, and your lungs are glad for it. Halfway to the market, the street rises like a small question. The old habit whispers faster, prove it, but you answer with the voice you've practiced. You say your simple line, the one you chose on day one, and listen to how it lands. If the words fray into puffs, you loosen the pace until the sentence returns whole. The hill still happens. You still crest it, but you do it at a speed that keeps your breath useful instead of desperate. Training instead of straining. When the ground levels out, you feel a bright steadiness under your ribs that isn't drama, it's confidence. At the market, colors pile up like confetti peaches, peppers, peonies, and the crowd's rhythm tries to borrow your own. A man in running shoes weaves through the stalls, and for a second you think about matching him. You don't. You speak your sentence and stay faithful to its rhythm, moving the way you promised your heart you would. The talk test doesn't scold you, it doesn't boast, it just keeps you in the middle where progress lives. Even the clerk notices and smiles. You sound like you could host a radio show, steady and clear. You laugh, because that's exactly what the right pace feels like. A voice that could carry a whole thought without breaking. On the way home, the wind stiffens. The kind that sneaks into your collar and suggests you cut the walk short. You consider it and then make a different bargain. 2 blocks at your indoor loop pace, 2 blocks in the open, all of it measured by your voice. You picture your living room track waiting for colder days, your grocery aisle loop for wet days, your church hallway for in-between days. The tool travels with you because it's inside you. If you can say a full sentence, you're training. If you can sing a line, you may be able to nudge the pace. If you can only manage broken words, you ease until your breath can carry language again. It is simple by design, so it's still there when the world gets noisy. A fair word about safety walks beside you, because care and courage are partners, not rivals. If you ever feel crushing chest pain, sudden severe breathlessness, faintness that won't let go, or a new weakness that scares you, you stop and seek help. That promise is not fear talking. It is wisdom clearing the path. The rest of the time, your voice is plenty strong to guide you, and the talk test keeps you in the sweet spot that builds stamina without robbing tomorrow. You turn down your street, and the sight of your front steps surprises you with a small, warm pride. Not for distance, for honesty. You didn't let a watch boss you. You didn't let someone else's pace decide your worth. You listened inward and kept your promise out loud. Inside, you unlace your shoes and pour a glass of water. Your breath settles back to its quiet self. The tote bag lands on the counter with the soft thump of peaches that will taste better because you carried them home on your own 2 feet. Before we close, set one promise you can actually keep. Choose a daily window 10 to 15 minutes that fits your life as neatly as your favorite mug fits your hand. Decide your sentence, the one you'll speak every minute, and write it on a scrap near your shoes. If weather or joints argue, walk your inside loop and use the same voice. Tell one person you trust what you're doing so they can join you or cheer you on. You're not chasing a number now. You're keeping company with your heart, and that is a friendship worth tending. Here's the truth we carried. From porch to market to living room and back again, your best pace isn't printed on a screen. It lives in your breath and your voice. When you can speak a full, ordinary sentence as you walk, you are in the safe, effective zone where the heart grows stronger without fear. If your words break into gasps, you ease until the sentence comes back whole. If you can sing a line and still feel fresh, you can gently nudge the speed. Hills, wind, busy sidewalks, or rainy days inside don't break the rule. They prove its power because the talk test travels wherever you do. Small choices keep you safe, shoes that hold your heel, steps that shorten on uneven ground, and the wisdom to stop and seek help for severe chest pain, crushing breathlessness, or faintness that doesn't pass. Most days, though, ask only for steadiness. If you try one thing today, lace up and walk 10 to 15 minutes at a pace your voice can carry, saying your chosen sentence every minute. Let your breath be the metronome, your words, the guide, and your home, the place you return smiling. Thank you for spending this time with EverWell USA. Like, subscribe, and share so a neighbor can find their own rhythm in the morning light.